off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back, and it is time for the panel. And joining us again is Peter Morici, economist and professor at the University of Maryland, and our own Newsmax contributor, writer, Bill Hoffman. Gentlemen, we just spoke to, that was a kick for me to speak to Robert Bud McFarland, the National Security Advisor to President Ronald Reagan. And, one of the things he said, Bill, was that it never would have gotten to this point if Reagan were the president. I asked him how Reagan would have dealt with and related to Putin. Basically, making it clear to Putin there'd be consequences, and Putin would be afraid to see what would happen. Agree?
I got to agree with that. I think that Ronald Reagan was of course, a master communicator, and I think he would have really kept our allies in tow with what was going on over there. And I think that he knows that the Ukraine is like an energy-rich area, and it's too important to let go. And I think he really would have had this thing under a lot more control than what's going on right now.
Peter, peace through strength, right?
Yeah. You got to remember that Ronald Reagan had substantially more assets at his disposal at that time. Has premised his presidency on building out things like Medicare, food stamps, Obamacare. It's not just Obamacare. All those things cost money, and he's been dealing with it by cutting defense, and he's cut it a lot. Unfortunately, Speaker Boehner made a very foolish deal with him about sequestration, where it was half and half after those guys already had been cut twice. And so he doesn't really have the resources that he needs to do business in Europe. What's more, he is not prepared to ask the Germans to make the same guns and butter trade-off and to make Germany change what it is. I mean, right now, the Germans only do logistics work in NATO adventures. And they're going to have to be willing to put boots on the ground and go in harm's way. And the Germans have become, really a good money-making machine and not much else. They really are free riders when it comes to that sort of stuff. And so I don't think that either Obama or Merkel are willing to make the kinds of sacrifices that are necessary to address this. He's Neville Chamberlain, let's face it, and Reagan was Winston Churchill. It's a different personality with different values. They put the nation at peril.
Right.
There's no other way to say it.
Right.
We have a president of the United States that's putting on security and our economy and our future and our freedom at peril.
And is he putting the future of NATO at peril? Because I forget if we discussed this in a previous hour, but when we had Doug Feith on, he said that he was afraid that Putin will think that he could take care of NATO without even firing a shot. That there'll just be such disunity and an unwillingness to take action if he does go to Estonia or somewhere else, another Baltic state that happens to be a member of NATO. That'll be the end of NATO.
It could well be. Remember Hitler's arc of victory. And before you know it, Britain was isolated. The thing here, though, is I'm wondering whether the British are willing to step up and become the leaders in Europe and play the warrant that World War II left them and tell the Germans, if you're going to be citizens of the West, then you have to be full citizens. And Europeans, if we're going to have a Europe, then we really have to do this. If not, we're going to be dominated by Russians. The Americans aren't going to do it. But there is a real danger here that NATO disassembles and that Putin does it, because we have a president of the United States who has a very different agenda. He thinks he can wish the problems of the world away. Americans need to address the world as they find it, not as they would be in Barack Obama's fantasy vision of the world.
Well, Bill,
Mr. Obama, the only way you could have Mr. Obama's view of the world is to be extraordinarily naive and incompetent or be on drugs.
And well, Bill,
he's not on drugs.
No, Bill. Before Peter elaborated in the last 30 seconds, I was going to ask you, basically, as important as it is, and as much of a commitment as we have through NATO, of course, to defend those countries in the Baltics. Does America have the stomach? Will America understand? Okay, I mean, will it be politically feasible to go ahead with that?
I think that NATO is safe because I just don't think any world leaders will want NATO to go under their watch. So I think that I'm worried about it. I mean, it could go. NATO could be fait accompli as far as being out the door. But I still think that no one wants to see NATO go under their watch.
Even Barack Obama.
I got to say, even Barack Obama.
Well, we know the Constitution is a flawed document, according to him. I'm not sure what he would consider NATO to be.
There's a difference between not wanting NATO to go on his watch and not understanding what he needs to do to save it. You know, from the very first day, Putin said, I'm in the Crimea because I'm there to protect the Russians who were threatened. And we all knew he was lying. And Barack Obama refused to say that. Instead, he said, well, let's negotiate with some international observers to work out how you can get what you want. It was clear that this was not about. I mean, he's so easily snookered. I mean, absolutely. Well, who said that, Putin's playing chess and Obama's playing marbles?
Yeah, I don't know, but I heard
the
that.
thing is, it's not worse than that. He's playing with square marbles. They don't roll.
Well, I know how Putin could really, really get Obama mad, and I mean for real, and that's say something bad or do something bad to the Muslim Brotherhood. That would evoke a response, as it did in Egypt when they kicked the murderous regime and the murderous president and the anti-Semitic president of Egypt out of his throne, which he made it into, and into jail. And now, today, a court in Egypt sentenced to death 529 supporters of the former president, President Morsi, of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, we know that everything I mentioned prior to this has led to the U.S. punishing, in their minds, the Egyptian military by withholding at least part or most of their financing to them and their aid and certain weapons requests, which is like, cut your nose to spite your face, because they managed to keep peace with Israel for all these years, unless, of course, Obama doesn't want peace with Israel kept. But, Peter, how long do you think before Obama himself or Kerry comes out and says that this must be overturned?
Oh, they may say something, but are they willing to put any substance behind it? If they're not willing to put some substance behind invasion into the Crimea, are they willing to do something here? Also, watch out that Vladimir Putin doesn't give these folks some money.
Well, he will. He will do it.
Right.
He will fill a void in
They
Afghanistan.
can play us one against the other.
Yeah.
See, now we're playing a weak hand everywhere. Someone pulled the curtain away from the Wizard of Oz, and there he was in his BVDs, a skinny guy in Washington who is weak and callow and naive and simply not protecting and defending the Constitution and the people of the United States as he should.
Bill.
The Ukraine is very far away, but sometimes your interests are in very far away places.
Bill, what is it that? I mean, we know the inherent bias of the media. We know, that we do shows on that all the time. I could do shows on that 24/7. But when will the media change its tune, if ever, on Barack Obama, or am I just living in a fantasy land? I mean, everything Peter's saying is 100% true. It's now infringing upon our national security, the national security of our allies and people we have treaties with. When are they going to wake up and say these things?
Well, I think they do say these things depending on what network you watch. I still think that there is some, networks are networks. But I think that if you watch CNBC, MSNBC, CNN, you get different opinions of different things.
NBC, CBS, ABC,
well,
Wall Street,
That's
New
true.
York Times, Washington Post.
The dice are definitely loaded on the side of the liberal media. But if you want to watch Newsmax, if you want to watch other networks,
or read Newsmax for that matter at newsmax.com, or listen to and read and watch Peter Morici as well. Hey guys.
By the way, you published me too. I had a column on your website today.
That's I said or read. Okay, I said or read Peter Morici. Absolutely, great.
You never mentioned that,
Okay, we will get it. We will get it, guys. From now on, at University of Maryland professor, economist, and Newsmax. Should we say contributor?
Can do that if you like.
I like. That's what we're doing. I just want to make sure it's okay with you, my friend. Hey, gentlemen, thank you all both for sticking, all of you or both of you, for sticking around throughout the show. Appreciate it very much. We'll speak to you again soon. Peter Morici and Bill Hoffman. All right, folks, when we come back, you're not going to want to miss this segment, because this segment is with Tim Graham. And we're going to take a look at some of the media insanity on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.